'cause I think I'm falling in love. I think I'm falling in love.
What's up, guys? We are at Hybrid Performance Method Gym in Miami. I'm with STEFI COHEN and Hayden, and we are going to talk today about some snatch techniques, some common snatch mistakes, some common snatch warm-ups, and everything. We're going to pack as much information as we possibly can in today's video. So we're going to start with the snatch warm-up.
What's up, guys? STEFI COHEN here. So some of the things that we're going to do, I'll be targeting the most common restrictions that people have usually before they snatch or before they do any barbell movement, really. So I'm going to show you an ankle mobilization, some hip exercises, and banded mobility for the hip. Then we'll move into the thoracic spine, and then I'll show you finally a shoulder one. After sitting down all day and not moving around much, your ankles tend to stiffen up a lot. And one of the most necessary movements in order to catch a snatch in the right position is the ability to dorsiflex, or the ability for the tibia to translate anteriorly. So what we want to do is we're going to place a band right below. So these are your malleoli. You want to place the band right below that on your talus. It's that little bone right below your tibia. And what you're going to do, you're going to put some tension on the band. So go ahead and take a step forward. And what you'll do, you just do a few squats. What that's going to do, it's going to allow that talus to stay back and for that tibia to translate forward without much restriction. So I usually do about 3 sets of 10 of these if I'm feeling like my ankles are restricted. And the most important thing about this is don't spend a lot of time mobilizing things that don't need to be mobilized. I think that's a common mistake that a lot of people do, is that they come in and then they do 45 minutes of warm-up that they don't really need. So maybe come in, move a little bit, and try to figure out what you need to mobilize that day. So next we're gonna move into some hip mobility, banded hip mobility exercise. This is more like a distraction, specific for people who have that pinchy feeling on the hip when they go down below in a squat. This is just like a really nice stretch that separates your femur from your hip and allows you to kind of like unclog the hip. So you're gonna do, the setup is a little bit tricky. You wanna put it right below the ankle, and then you wanna cross it kind of like a figure 8 right on top of your foot. Right like that, not too high. And now you wanna take a few steps back. Yeah, as far as you can go. There you go. And then the second thing you can do is go ahead and hike your hip up. Try to hike this one. So this up, yeah. So you hike and release. Yeah. Hike, release a few times. Stay there for a few minutes. That's your hip stretch. The next one is a personal favorite. It's called hip 90-90s. So what you're gonna do, sit down on the floor in a real ladylike position. Open your legs wide to start with. Seriously. Then you're gonna start from here, drop both knees to one side. If you have good mobility, you can even reach to the side, over there, switch to the other side. Something common for a lot of people is they're gonna notice a discrepancy from side to side. And to me, that's one of the biggest problems. So not so much not having range of motion, but an asymmetry from side to side. It's like having a car that's out of alignment and you're constantly rolling on that wheel on the outside. Eventually what that's gonna do is gonna tear up that wheel on that side, and then you're gonna be further out of alignment. So when you find a side-by-side discrepancy, then that's kind of like a red flag for you to be working even harder on improving your mobility on that particular side. This next one is an awesome kind of like synergistic exercise between your shoulder and your thoracic spine. So one of the necessary movements for snatching is your ability to internally rotate under load. A lot of people think that you need external rotation. You see them spending a lot of time doing like doorway stretches and stretches to open up their shoulders, doing banded or one dislocations, when in reality, when you're in an overhead position, your humerus needs to be able to rotate inward. And the reason for that is because your humerus is in a more congruent position when it internally rotates. And by congruency, what that means is it's more stable. There's more bone-to-bone connection in that position, which allows you a more stable overhead position. So in this exercise, in a windmill, what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach down with your left hand, and then you're gonna rotate, twist from your upper back, try to internally rotate your arm as you go. There you go.
Come back up like this.
And come back up. Yep. So make sure you're twisting your elbow, your arm in. I always confuse elbow with shoulder. I don't know why, it's like the weirdest. Finally, another common restriction is your lats, your teres major, right back here. If it's tight, you're not gonna be able to bring your arm over your head properly. So this is just a nice stretch to stretch out your lats, mobilize your shoulder capsule a little bit more. And from there, you can even go into a pec stretch. So you just kind of like to the side like that. Yeah. Does the same thing, but in the other direction. Alright, so the first thing we're going to be talking about is the setup for the snatch. So two things in particular I'd like to address are the feet setup and the grip. So for your feet, you're actually better off having a more narrow starting position, just because that allows you to be able to, when you're jumping, to bring the bar up higher than if you had a wider stance. So obviously, anatomical differences are going to play a big role in which starting position you feel more comfortable with. But to start with, I would say start narrow and then widen out as you feel fit. So to pick your grip position, what you're going to do, go ahead and grab the barbell. What you want to do is pick a position that allows for the bar to sit right on your hip crease as you go down into the power position. So if it goes down too low, and you might need to open it up and vice versa. Yep. So that's good. So that way, when you get into that power position, the barbell is right on your hip for you to be able to generate the most amount of power.
So if it was too low, for example, if someone was too narrow and they were gripping the bar like this, if I bend over, you see the bar starts to go too low.
Wider.
Yep.
Talking about grip, you obviously hook grip, right? It's the best way to go.
Of course.
So a lot of new lifters avoid doing the hook grip because it's kind of uncomfortable and in like an unconventional way to grab things, but it's just a matter of practicing over and over again that position. So if you want to show them.
I think it's important to address that everybody's body type is different. So don't watch a video on YouTube of a high-level lifter and think that you have to replicate the snatch the exact same way that they do it. Everyone's going to be a little different. So we'll show you with Manders here, who has pretty long legs and long arms, you know, how her setup would look and how you would kind of make it so it would fit or be able to adjust it to any sort of body type. We went over foot position already. Grab the bar, how you normally grab it. A few things you want to look for off the start is one, that when she goes down into her start position, the bar is as close as possible to her shins. You want shoulders either in line or over the bar. And depending on how long your limbs are, your hip position is going to be different. So if you have shorter limbs, you're going to be able to start with a lower butt position. And if you have longer limbs, you're going to need a little bit higher. So why don't you go where it feels natural for you. Finding the right start position is important. An analogy that Steph and I like to use is the one of the bow and arrow. So if you're aiming with a bow and arrow and you rush at the beginning and you just pull it back and shoot it, it could go anywhere. But if you take your time, you find the right position, you aim, you're going to have a lot better chance of success in putting the bar or the arrow where you want it to go. The goal should be, she's doing it perfectly actually, you want to keep shoulders over the bar until about the knee position. And once you pass the knee, you want to come through to your power position, keeping the bar as close to you as possible. And that's something that a lot of people rush and make a mistake with, is shooting their butt up too fast. If you shoot your butt up too fast, I'll get her to demonstrate in a sec, but you're going to end up in this position where your shoulders are still over the bar, but you're not able to keep it as close as you want to your center of gravity. So same thing we were talking about when the bar is on the ground, you want to keep it close and you want to do the same thing the whole way up. So your hips and your shoulders should be rising together until the bar passes the knee.
Next portion to take into account is the second pull. So this is a pivotal point in the snatch because it's depending on how high you can get that bar, then it's going to determine like how well you can catch it. So In the second pull, you wanna make sure that you jump up and you kind of like try to think like you're being pulled from a string from your head all the way up to the ceiling, and you pull that bar up with you in this position. So common mistake that people make is like they jump back, they don't keep their elbows high, and they shoot their head back. So what you want to do again is jump up, straight up. And it comes back in circle, the importance of having good shoulder mobility. If you can't get your shoulders to internally rotate in this position, then how are you expecting to be able to keep that bar close in that position? You need to have enough internal rotation here in the shoulder to be able to do this movement properly. High pull. Good. The turnover is a portion of the snatch that doesn't get that much attention, but in my opinion, is really, really important because it's gonna determine that speed at which you're able to flick your wrist is gonna be really, really important when you try to catch. So a movement that I like to warm up with and really practice a lot and make sure that I master is the muscle snatch. It's usually how I warm up for my snatches, and it teaches you really well how to do that turnaround of the wrist fast.
Now we're going to talk about the catch position. A few things that go into that are things we've addressed already. So if you're able to keep the bar close to your center of gravity and you're not coming back too early, then you're not going to shoot the bar forward. The other thing is you don't want to be too far over because that position is going to end up with you putting the bar too far forward as well. Ideally in the bottom position, what we're looking for, she has good shoulder mobility. So you can see that the bar is in line with her ears, shoulders, and hips, and her ankles as well. So that's the strongest position because you're just able to stack basically bone on bone, and it's a lot easier than just trying to muscle it. And if it's anywhere out from your center of gravity, too far behind, too far forward, you're gonna have to use a lot more force to try to pull it back to the proper position. Another thing just to add is that you always, when you're doing that transition with your arms, the turnover, and you're going into the bottom position, you want your feet to leave the ground. When your feet leave the floor, you can make little tiny adjustments, like a little bit of a jump back, a little jump forward, which aren't optimal, but it might be the difference between you making or missing a lift.
An important point to address here is right before the turnover, a common mistake that people do is, and especially as the weight gets heavier and heavier and you start getting a little bit fearful of what weight is on the bar, is people start cutting that pull short and they are rushing and too much to get under that bar. So it's important that you remember, and if you start feeling like you're rushing that pull, just tell yourself, wait 1 or 2 seconds more in that power position. Extend for 1 or 2 more seconds. That's gonna give you just enough time for you to pull enough to get under. A good drill that you can do to work on that, since it's a common thing that a lot of people do, are snatches from the hip.
Alright guys, I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, check out Hybrid Performance Method. They do offer online programming. I know a ton of people on my channel always ask about my programming and what I do. I have actually used Hybrid Performance Method before. I really love their programming. Hayden and Steffi know what they're talking about. Steffi actually was my coach in 2000, when was that? Like 2015 or 16. So she is really knowledgeable, and I obviously would never recommend something that I don't personally love. You guys know that about me, so give it a try. You can always, they can email you for free samples, correct? Yeah, so shoot them an email, test it out. They have a ton of different types of programmings: powerlifting, pull only, push only, meet prep, push only, dead, like so many. Go check them out, and don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. It has been a hot minute since I've had salty donut. Oh my goodness gracious.
You might have eaten that whole thing?
What? We might be. No, we're not eating the whole thing. Don't we look good together? Hippie car. I'm going.
Turn right on North.
Danny! There's handlines on like her ass. What is he doing? What's happening? We're a mess. I am full of donuts for real though. I hope that you enjoyed today's video with Danielle. Oh, I just punched in the face. I know she hates hugs, but I give her them anyway. Fun fact about Danielle, she does not like hugs.
I like your hugs.
Oh, I love you. Okay. Oh,
That's it.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.